I had the privilege of doing a beta read of this novella. One of the things that really struck me is how poignantly you portray the dynamics of a marriage and and the communication that happens in a marriage. Do you care to talk to us a little bit about what inspired that? So I don't think I've ever read, and I've read a lot of historical romance. I don't think I've ever read like such a realistic depiction of how that changes the longer you're in a marriage.
Yeah, I think it's something that I, as a reader, am always interested in at the end of a story. I really like to know how does their relationship change, and epilogues tend to show us a rosy picture. But
Hmm.
I've always been interested, well, what does that look like? How do you love someone but also, be in a very long relationship and have days where you don't like them? That's always something that I'm just like, how does that work? So I think part of my inspiration is that I've always been interested in that. And then I'm married. I've been with my husband 10 years. A few years ago, he was going through some really intense mental health struggles, and we were not having big conflict or anything like that. We just both kind of recognized that we were having trouble supporting each other through this really big thing that he was going through. And so we did some couples therapy, which was fantastic. I highly recommend couples therapy when you don't think you need it because it helps you not need it at the end.
Right, right.
But I think that really tuned the fiction writer part of me into, oh, the therapist is noticing all these tiny dynamics. And some of it was as simple as we did an exercise where she asked him, okay, when he's feeling upset, how do you comfort him physically? Like, do you touch him? Do you hug him? Whatever. And I started like rubbing his arm. That's what I do, as kind of like petting a dog or something. And then she asked him how he felt. And he said he really doesn't like being rubbed that way. He wants to be touched with just like a still palm. And then we flipped that, and she prompted him to put his hand at the back of my head, which he had really liked. And I was like, that's terrible. Do not do that to me. And so that clued me into the fact that everyone has these very different reactions and ways that we communicate and ways that we get comforted. And it's all so minute. And yet it makes such a big difference because when we did this therapy, focusing
Mhm.
in on these really tiny things, it shifted our relationship. It made it stronger. It made it so that we could communicate better. And so I think that was where I started being like really creatively
Mhm.
inspired and interested in that. And yeah, I mean, I also think there are a lot of romance readers who are also in long-term relationships
Yes.
or have that life experience. And so love does not end when you commit to somebody.
No,
It
I
needs a
mean,
lot more than that.
yeah. And my husband and I have been together 27 years, so
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
so I hope that readers are feel seen or feel that it's, adding a layer to romance.
very much so. I mean, I definitely felt seen. And as I said, like, that's something you don't see a lot, right? At all in the romance genre period, not just historical. You don't see it contemporary either, really.
Yeah.
I think I've only read one contemporary book that was like that, and it was one by Chloe Lies.